Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing really well. Today I have my October and November book haul for you. I hauled quite a lot of books in those 2 months, about 35. It was my birthday and I also just had to buy a few bargains which I couldn't say no to, so there is quite a lot. I will try and run through them pretty quickly because otherwise we'll be here all day. But yeah, so without me waffling on anymore, let's get on with my October and November book haul. So the first book on this big haul is Crossing the Lines by Amanda Huggins, and this was kindly gifted to me by the publisher Victorina Press, so thank you very much for sending this to me. It's a short novella based on our main character Molly, who is 15 years old, and essentially her mum ends up falling for this guy who walks into a diner one day, and Molly doesn't take a liking to him, and I don't know what happens, but he doesn't sound like he's a very nice guy, and it essentially leads to Molly leaving where they're living at the age of 15, befriending a stray dog and going on her own kind of journey, I guess, to growing up, finding out more about herself and getting away from the life that she currently knows. So it sounds like it obviously goes through a lot in this small novella. I'm really keen to read it. I love this cover. So yeah, thank you so much to the publisher for sending this to me. It comes out on the 2nd of December and I'm hoping to get to it before then. Next is Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. I don't know much about this other than it's kind of like an traditional Irish based fantasy. This is quite an old book and the first in the Seven Waters trilogy, and the reason I picked this up was because of Jean's Bookish Thoughts channel. This is like one of her all-time favourite fantasy books, so I was influenced and wanted to buy it, so I got this copy. I don't know much about it other than it's like an Irish kind of fantasy, as I just said, so hopefully I like it. I'm intrigued by it. This is like a giant paperback, so we'll see how we get on. Next is The Priory of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. I've seen this book everywhere. It's a standalone epic fantasy, very political fantasy, I believe. Heard lots of excellent things. I'm kind of trying to get into more epic fantasy because I'm very much like a YA fantasy reader, and well, A Court of Thorns and Roses obviously isn't is not YA. However, I wouldn't say it was on the scale of like an epic fantasy, if that makes sense. So I'm kind of trying to dip my toe into this world. I say dip my toe into it and all the books are like this big, but we will see. And I've heard great things, and I saw the hardback being sold at an excellent price on Facebook, and I couldn't say no really because I know they're quite hard to come by now for a reasonable price. So yeah, I picked this one up. I hope to get to it soon, although I've been told it's probably not the easiest book to get into as kind of your first step into epic fantasy, so it might not be for a while yet, but I'm just pleased to own a copy for when I am ready to read it. Next is this stunning edition of Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. It's not the original cover, the original cover is like dark blue I believe, but with the same sort of patterns. But this, I don't think it's exclusive to Waterstones, so I'm not sure what's special about this edition. But either way, I picked it up. It is signed, and the inside papers are like stunning. And this plain on the spine on the cover, but the spine's really pretty. I've got, ever since reading The Song of Achilles, which was like my first kind of taste of Greek mythology, I've ended up picking up quite a lot of books. No, I was just checking my haul if any of them were that recent. But yeah, I ended up picking quite a lot of books based in kind of Greek mythology. So I'm not gonna lie to you, I know nothing about this. I presume our main character is Ariadne. That's all I know. I have heard mixed things on it, however this cover kind of won me over, so I'm hoping I do end up enjoying it, and I've also pre-ordered the next book by this author called Elantris, so fingers crossed I do actually enjoy this one. The next book I picked up was The Maidens by Alex Michaelides, sorry. I read Silent Patient last year, might have been the year before actually. I think it was the year before. So sorry, yeah, and I really enjoyed it. I hadn't read a thriller for a while and I flew through that and I didn't see what happened. I didn't see it at all. So yeah, so this is the next book by this author, and I have heard very mixed things, to be honest, probably more negative than good, so I am intrigued. This is Dark Academia, and in it we follow Mariana, whose niece Zoe calls her when someone on campus is brutally murdered. and I'm not quite sure why, but for some reason our main character decides to kind of go and investigate. I don't think she's a detective of any sort, but she like takes it upon herself to go and figure out what's going on. It sounds like there may be a bit of a weird cult situation going on with a kind of strange professor that our protagonist isn't quite sure about, and that's all I really know. Yeah, I mean, I'm really intrigued and I hope you enjoy it, but I'm well aware that it's not been that loved, so we will see what happens with this one. Next I picked up Bunny by Mona Awad, who I've just seen this book everywhere and I've wanted to read it for so long, and when it came up on Bookswap for £3.85 postage and a hardback, I was there. So I know this is about a group of a kind of clique of girls who each call themselves Bunny, and our main character is desperate to be a part of that, and then one day she receives an invitation to come inside the like Bunny's world, and I guess from there we find out what it truly means to be a member of, well, be a bunny. I don't know much about it other than that. I've heard it's a crazy ride. I'm really intrigued and I really want to get to it soon, so we will see how soon I actually pick it up, because I say that pretty much about every book I pick up. But yeah, I've heard excellent things about this and I think it will be unlike anything I've ever read, so yeah. Next I've got The Great Believers by Rebecca Mackay, which my friend Hannah over on Instagram, Lockdown Books, kindly gifted to me for my birthday at the start of the month, so thank you so much, Hannah. I don't know very much about this book, however I read All the Young Men, a non-fiction memoir by Ruth Coker Burks, which essentially follows a lady in the 1980s as she helps men who are kind of being shunned because they've got AIDS and HIV, and it blew me away and I didn't know much on that topic, embarrassingly, and yeah, it really has stuck with me. It's one of my favourite books of the year and I was desperately looking for recommendations kind of based on the HIV AIDS crisis of the 80s and that book, because I loved it so much, and this one came up a lot, so I added it to my wish list and Hannah kindly gifted it to me. So yeah, I'm imagining it's going to pull at my heartstrings, it's going to devastate me, but it's one I've heard a lot about, a lot of good things. Ever since I put it on my wish list I've seen it kind of everywhere and a lot of people seem to love it, so I'm really hoping I love it just as much as I loved All the Young Men, because if you've not read that book I would really recommend checking it out because it's incredible. Next I picked up A Diary of Blood by S.T. Gibson. I have seen this book everywhere, and with everywhere I've seen it, all I've seen are 5-star reviews. I was intrigued. It's only a short little novella, and I believe we follow the wife of Dracula and she's kind of writing letters to him. I believe it's supposed to be beautiful. I'm really intrigued by this. What can I say? I don't know anything else about it, but I was influenced by all the rave reviews of it, okay? And I just love this cover. We will see if I like it. If you've read it, let me know, because I'm so intrigued. Next is another book that was very kindly gifted to me by Hannah for my birthday, and that is Beartown by Frederick Backman. I put this on my wish list because earlier this year I read A Man Called Uwe by the same author and I absolutely loved it. Another of my favourite books of the year. It was wonderful, so I really adored this author's writing. I'd heard this book before I added it to my wish list, but I wasn't sure if I would like it because I wasn't sure if I would like A Man Called Uwe, to be honest. It'd been on my shelf for a very long time. But now I know I like that book, I thought I would add some of his other books to my wish list. So I know we follow a small town and like the town kind of revolves around was it the school hockey team? It doesn't say. I think it may be a school hockey team or just a hockey team. And it says every town has its secrets, so I imagine something devastating happens that kind of ripples through this small village and affects everybody. I'm looking forward to it. I've heard that it's wonderful and I know there's a second book to this and that it's also coming out as a series, so I hope to get to it soon. Again, like, how many times have I said that already? But yeah, I want to read this and I look forward to it. Next is another book that was very kindly gifted to me by my friend Emma, Curl Up With a Good Book, over on Instagram, so thank you so much, Emma. And this is Rock Paper Scissors by Alice Feeney, which I'm sure you've all heard of because it has literally been everywhere. And when I say it's been everywhere, I see it probably mentioned once a day on here or on Instagram because it's such a popular thriller. I know we follow our two main characters who go away together on a romantic getaway, but I think they've got some not very nice plans for each other. and can they trust each other, because I don't think either of them are really who they pretend that they are. I'm sure it will be extremely fast-paced, twists and turns I won't see coming, and I can't wait to get to it. I think I will fly through it. And Emma, who gifted this to me, is a thriller lover. It's who I go to for my thriller recommendations, so when she loves a book I know that it's going to be good. So yeah, I'm sure I'll get to this soon. Following on from that, Emma also very kindly gifted me Falling by TJ Newman, which I think is based on a plane, and it's like a hostage type situation. She read this recently and absolutely loved it. She also read Hostage by Claire McIntosh, which I'm actually swapping with her, so I'll get her copy soon. And I think she read them close together and ended up preferring this to Hostage. So I think I will read this first and then read Hostage maybe a few months after that. But it's quite a short book, so I imagine it's just going to be thrilling from the very first page. I'm going to be on the edge of my seat throughout, and I'm really looking forward to this. So another thriller again that I can't wait for, so thank you so much, Emma. Next I've got Little Thieves by Margaret Owen. I got this for £4.20, pre-ordered like months ago, and it came out in October off Amazon. So Han Reads Books put this as a bargain when it was £4.25 on Amazon, and I picked it up thanks to her, so thank you so much for putting that on your story. So yeah, this was a pre-order. I think this cover is absolutely gorgeous, and I think we follow our main character who kind of swaps places with a princess and seems to like steal her life. She was her maid. I think it's based on a traditional like fairy tale or story, but I don't know what story that is. So clearly I've done my research as usual. But yeah, I've heard great things about this author, and I've heard great things about this book. So, and for the bargain price of £4.25, if I hate it, it's not the end of the world. Next I picked up the Lido by Libby Page, again off Bookswap for £3.85. I've seen a lot of people love this book. It sounds like a very heartwarming book. So we follow two main characters, one of which is in her 80s and the other is in her 20s. And for our character in her 80s, the Lido is somewhere she goes every day. It reminds her of her late husband George, and it just holds a very special place in her heart. Our other main character in her 20s, I think her name is Kate. Yep, she's moved to the city where the Lido is and is kind of feeling a bit lost and starts to go there. And then the Lido is threatened with closure, and for both of them, especially our character in her 80s, whose name is Rosemary, I'm terrible with names, she is so worried because it's kind of her routine, it's what she knows and loves, and more importantly it holds a lot of special memories of her late husband. So I expect we follow a book that's going to make me cry while these two women try and campaign to keep the Lido open, and I imagine they become very close and we learn a lot more about their lives. I have a feeling I'm absolutely going to adore this, and I've seen nothing but good things, so fingers crossed that I do. Next, my other half Nick very kindly gifted me this gorgeous copy of June by Frank Herbert for my birthday. Like, it's just stunning. I can't remember if there's anything under the dust jacket. Oh yeah, there's like, I presume this is like a famous quote, because I've not read it yet. I don't know. I really want to see the film, but I am determined, because I know if I see the film I won't read the book, and the book scares me. It's been on my to be read list for a very long time. I kind of take it off and then put it back on because I'm like, God, it's a big old task. I'm very daunted by this book, but this edition is stunning, and when I saw it I was like, I just need it. I need it, and I am determined to read this before watching the film. If you've read this, please let me know. Am I going to be okay? Because I'm not sure if I am. But this edition is absolutely gorgeous, and I was just a sucker for it, so yeah. Next I picked up A Slow Fire Burning by Paula Hawkins. I got this in a charity shop for £1, so it'd been on my wish list for a while, but yeah, I was kind of reluctant to spend. I've seen it for like £11. So it was one I wanted to read, but I wasn't like, I need it now. So when I saw it in a charity shop in pretty much immaculate brand new condition, I picked it up. I don't actually know, I've just realised I don't know anything about this book. I don't know what it's about at all. I'm not even going to look at what it's about. But the reason I picked this up and why it's been on my wish list is because I read The Girl on the Train by this author kind of when it first came out. Well, I don't know if it was when it first came out, but it was before the film anyway. And I read it in 2016, and I know it very vividly because I was on my sister's hen do in Magaluf, and I borrowed it off my sister. And I started it on a sun lounger. I was wearing sun cream, disclaimer. And I was very irresponsible, and I kind of read it all in one day and then almost got like sunstroke because I just sat in one position on a sun lounger in Magaluf like this all day. So, and my hand was on my leg, and when I moved I had a suntan around my hand on my leg. I'm not joking, I think I've got a picture of it somewhere. So I had this nice little white patch of a handprint on my leg. But a book's got to be good if it leaves you in that state, right? I also read Into the Water by Paula Hawkins, funny enough, on a different holiday recently, and really enjoyed that one, not as much as Girl on the Train. So I'm hoping, because I've liked her other books, that I will also really like this one. I know absolutely nothing about it, but I am equally just as intrigued as I was for the others. Next, my mum gave me this for my birthday, and that is Empire of the Vampire by J. Kristoff. This book is everywhere at the moment. Like, the marketing for this, I mean, bravo, because it's everywhere. There's so many gorgeous editions that people are selling for a lot of money and showing off, and they're beautiful. So I had to get it. I went in, I was influenced by the hype. What can I tell you about this book? Nothing. It's a vampire book. I think I would presume it's an adult-based vampire book. From people I trust, I'm hearing it's really good. Obviously it is chunky, but I have no doubt that I will love it. And that is all I can tell you. I honestly have no idea what it's about, so I love it. I love how organised I am for this video. Next, I got A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara, which I have already read and absolutely adored. I read it this year, but my friend Sarah, A Page of Words and Wishes, over on Instagram, was getting rid of, well, actually she wasn't getting rid of it, she was doing a bookshelf tour, and she really didn't like this book and said she was probably going to sell it. So I messaged her saying, oh, if you do, please could I buy it off you? So I did, because when I love a book, I like to get the hardback editions of them for my shelves, for my collection. So yeah, I'm sure you've all seen this book, I'm sure you're all aware of what it's about, but essentially we follow 4 best friends over the decades of their lives from when they leave college as they get older, and it kind of revolves around the main character of the group called Jude, who has had a very traumatic past, and how that affects him throughout his life in later years. So it's an absolute masterpiece. However, I would never recommend it because it is such a triggering, hard book to read, and that it comes with probably a full paragraph of trigger warnings, which I would really suggest if you're thinking of reading this book, because it is everywhere and everyone goes on and on about it. I would really suggest looking at the trigger warnings before reading it, because it's harrowing, it's so devastating, it's traumatic. I cried my eyes out, and I will never forget this book, but I will equally never read it again, and I will never recommend it, because I think sometimes when you see a hyped book, it makes you want to read it, which is wonderful. However, this book comes with, I think people that read it and recommend it need to also say that it is very triggering, because it's just devastating, and you've just got to be in the right frame of mind and be ready to read it before reading it, because it's a lot to take in and a lot to take on. Yeah, it's one of my favourite books of the year. However, it's not necessarily one I enjoyed because it's such a hard read, but it will be with me forever because I will never forget this story. Next is The Giver of Stars by Jojo Moyes, my favourite book of the year so far. My mum gave me her copy, which was very battered paperback from the charity shop, and I left it on my shelf for over a year. I love Jojo Moyes, but this story just did not appeal to me. I'm sure everybody banged on about this everywhere anyway, but I'm going to do it again, because if I get any opportunity to persuade people to buy and read this wonderful book, then I will. And yeah, I read it, and the first 100 pages I was like, oh, it's slow, oh, it's not for me. And then suddenly 100 pages in, I was obsessed. We follow our main character Alice as she moves from England to Kentucky to marry. She goes on like a whirlwind romance, and as a businessman, Bennett is visiting from America, and she goes home with him and can't wait to write to her family about all the wonderful experiences she's having in America, all the sights she's seeing. But she actually ends up living in a very remote and rural part of America, Kentucky. She finds herself very alone with Bennett's father is very kind of controlling and involved in their lives, and literally sleeps in the room right next to them, which for a newly married couple obviously isn't the best. until she joins the Pack Horse Library and meets the absolutely inspiring Marjorie O'Hare, who runs this Pack Horse Library. And essentially what that is women would it's based on a true well, the story is fictional, but the Pack Horse Library was a real thing. So women would kind of load their horses with loads of books and ride the horses out to people who couldn't get access to books or possibly education, or couldn't afford to read books, and give them books for a week and then go collect them. And yeah, this book is absolutely incredible. If you love historical fiction, character-driven fiction, I urge you to read this book, because it is wonderful. You end up falling completely for all the main characters in this. It's about a group of women, a group of strong women, as they fight prejudice, as the whole kind of town go against them, as they fight racism and sexism and people believing what they're doing is wrong. And it's just incredible, and I can't say enough wonderful things about it. And please read it. I feel like I've already spoken about these next two, however I haven't done a haul in a really long time. So if this is a repeat of something, I'm sorry, just skip past it. So the next two books I've got to talk about are Spin the Dawn and Unravel the Dusk by Elizabeth Lim, and these are the gorgeous Fairy Loot editions. Annoyingly, by the time I got to them, they'd sold out the signed copies, so these are unsigned, however they're still absolutely beautiful. I have heard that this is like Mulan meets Project Runway. That's all I know. The pretty covers want it for me, and that's therefore why I hold them. Next I have a trilogy of hardbacks, and that is The Tattooist of Auschwitz, Silka's Journey, and the latest novel by Heather Morris, Three Sisters. I listened to these two on audio and fell in love with them, so I had to buy the physical copies. And then I'm thinking of waiting until the audio comes out of this, because I just loved listening to these. I loved absorbing them in that way. So yeah, I know that these two, I think even this one, they're fiction but based on true stories of people that had to deal with the horrific crimes of World War II and Nazi Germany. So in this book we follow Lale Sokolov, who was a tattooist of Auschwitz, and he met his one true love whilst there and did anything he could to survive, and that's probably my favourite of the two I've read so far. Yeah. Silka's Journey, Silka is also in The Tattooist of Auschwitz, and unbelievably, after everything she goes through whilst in Auschwitz, she's then arrested for a further 15 years and sent to a gulag in Russia called, oh, I can't find it. What's it called? Just gonna... Vorkuta, yeah. Vorkuta prison for 15 years because of what she does in this book, which I won't spoil. She's then arrested as if she had a choice. So we follow her while she spends these 15 years in this prison. Horrific. And how these people can then... how she survives through what she's been through, I've got no idea. And this is the most recent, and I think we follow three sisters who end up, unfortunately, in the Auschwitz concentration camp. I know nothing about it, but based on the fact that I loved these two, I am sure that this will be equally one of my favourites. Next I picked up Real Life by Brandon Taylor. I don't know many things about this book. We follow our main character Wallace, and I think he's at university perhaps? I'm not sure. And his father sadly passes away, but he doesn't really tell anybody. He kind of keeps, it sounds like he keeps all his emotions, he's very private and keeps his thoughts locked in. I'm not sure what happens in this, to be honest, but I've heard lots of excellent things, and I think it's going to be very much a harrowing character-driven book, which I'm very intrigued by. Sorry, I don't know how much was just recorded, but my camera's like, nah, I'm done. So next is Watch Over Me by Nina LaCour, and I think we can follow our main character as she ages out of the foster care system which she has been in all her life, and is offered a job on a rural farm. But I think it sounds like it's a bit like mysterious and there's weird things happening on this farm. So it's quite short. that's all I know about it. I'm intrigued and I love this cover. And I picked up the signed copy off Facebook for £2, so can't go wrong. Next I picked up this copy of The Night Sagas by Erin Morgenstern. I've already read this book. I didn't love it, I gave it 4 stars. However, I really wanted a hardback copy of this, so spoiler alert, I got one. Such a popular book, and this edition is stunning. It's yeah, really pretty, and I couldn't say no to it, so I got it. I still need to read The Starless Sea by this author, which I'm nervous about, but we will see how I get on with that. Next is This Can Never Not Be Real by Sarah Milano. I think we follow, it's a YA, I'm not necessarily sure it's a thriller, but we follow our main characters as I think a terrorist attack happens wherever they are, and we follow them through the night as it happens and what happens to them. I've heard it's very fast paced, very upsetting naturally, and I'm very intrigued by it, so we will see if it lives up to kind of my expectations, which are very high. It's told in like very small like paragraphs from each of our main characters, so yeah, I think I will fly through this one. Next I've picked up Gilded by Marissa Meyer. I know nothing about this one. I read Cinder a couple of years ago and really enjoyed it, but just never carried on with the series. Not because I didn't want to, but I've now kind of got more series that have got priority, so I'm not sure if I ever will carry on with the series. But I did enjoy it, and I don't know anything about I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about it, but it's YA fantasy, which is one of my favourite genres, so I picked it up. I'm so rubbish. Next I picked up this gorgeous illustrated anniversary edition of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So I pre-ordered this actually before I'd read this book, and I didn't love this book. We follow Addie LaRue, who makes a deal with like one of the dark gods, when she basically wants his help to get out of the life she's currently living. She's going to have to marry someone she doesn't love, and he lets her live forever with on the basis that whenever people kind of look away from her, they forget who she is, so no one ever remembers her, so she can't really like have anything. Her life is kind of, they've forgotten who I am, they don't know, no one knows who she doesn't really have an identity because no one remembers who she is. It's a very long character driven book, and it's not, I gave it 4 stars, but I didn't love it. I didn't love it. So, but this edition is gorgeous, and yeah, I mean, what more can I say? It's gorgeous, and I wanted it before. I don't know if I would have pre-ordered this after I'd read the book, if that makes sense, but it's full of like really pretty pictures and sprayed edges obviously, and it's signed and it's really pretty, so I will probably keep this for my collection, but it wasn't a favourite book of mine. So I have Elantris by Brandon Sanderson. I'm yet to read a book by Brandon Sanderson. I know this is a standalone. I'm thinking this will be the one I start with to kind of ease myself into Brandon Sanderson's work. I've got the first in the Mistborn trilogy, I think it's called, as well to read, but I think I'll start with this one. A standalone fantasy. I know nothing about it, but I would like to get to it. So Hannah, who I mentioned earlier, also very kindly gifted me another book, and I'm so excited, and that is Mansfield Park by Jane Austen, and it's a Chiltern edition of this, and these books are stunning, and I've decided I would like to collect these, and this is the first one in my collection, so thank you so much, Hannah. Like, it is just beautiful. Guys, it's beautiful. Yeah, I've never really read a classic, and I'm not sure if I'll get to this soon, and I'm not sure if I would want to read this copy because it's just so delicate and beautiful. But thank you so much, Hannah. I am looking to collect these, so I'm so glad to start my collection. We are almost there. We are almost there. Next is Vampire Academy, the first book by Rochelle Mead. I mean, this is a classic, isn't it, that I've not read, and I'm intrigued by it. I like vampires. I've heard this is brilliant, and it's a series I want to start, so I picked up the first book. Next is The Last Act of Love by Kathy Rensenbrink. I swapped this with a friend over on Instagram. This is a memoir of Kathy and her younger brother, younger brother, who sadly was knocked down by a car, and it affected him drastically. He never walked or spoke again, and then 8 years later he died. So I think this will be a really upsetting read, but I've heard it's brilliant, very moving and very well written, so I'm intrigued by this one. Next I picked up Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber, this signed edition from Waterstones. I've read the first in the Caraval series and I absolutely loved it, so when I saw this I wanted to pick it up. I know it's based on a character from Caraval, but I don't know which one, so I literally couldn't tell you anything about this book because I don't want to know anything until I've read the Caraval series, but I had to pick it up. But then I didn't realise when I pre-ordered it that it was also a Fairy edition coming out, which, let me just show you. It's signed and it's just gorgeous. Like, it is probably my favourite Fairy book. It's stunning. Yeah. They are both gorgeous and I'm reluctant to let one of them go, but I don't need both of them, and I think realistically going forward I'll get the rest of the series in this Fairy Loot edition because it is just beautiful. This book is equally beautiful. I have got the perfume bottle cover, let me quickly show you, and I am reluctant to let go of it. However, I'm not going to continue getting the series, the Nexen series, in both editions, so I think I will probably sell this one, but they are both gorgeous and I'm so excited to read it. I probably should have started with this as in before Once Upon a Broken Heart. I didn't plan it, as you can tell. So I also got the Caraval box set. I read the first one and loved it and decided to treat myself to the hardback box set. Well, actually my brother got it me for my birthday, however I very much hinted that I would like this. So thank you very much to my brother. Yeah, I loved this book and I can't wait to read these two, and I hope to get to them very soon. We are on to the final 3 books. The first of which is 1,000 Ships by Natalie Haynes. I'm just going to say right now, another book that I don't know much about. Based on what I said earlier about loving the Song of Achilles, I really wanted to pick up more Greek mythology based books, which I therefore did. Yeah, I don't really know anything about this, but I'm looking forward to it. I am rubbish at this. Next I picked up Crave by Tracy Wolfe, which is another vampire werewolf type book. I think it's going to be a bit like Twilight if I'm honest, but I've heard this is excellent. I'm a sucker for books like this, okay? And I need to read it. I feel like it will be like very nostalgic for me, like quite like Twilight-esque. I remember reading those books. And I don't know, I presume it's like YA, but I don't actually know. Correct me if I'm wrong. If you've read this, let me know if you've enjoyed it. I can't wait to read it. I'm sure I will love it. And finally, I picked up Cytocytonic by Brandon Sanderson, which is the 3rd book in the Skyward series. I've got the first book in hardback and I've not yet read it, and I do need to pick up the 2nd book, Starsight, as well, which I probably will buy in December or ask for it for Christmas because I want to complete my collection. But I think this is his YA fantasy series, sci-fi series, sorry. I know nothing about it. I'm intrigued. And those are all the books I hauled in October and November. Sorry I've gone on for so long. Sorry that I didn't really know a lot about what I was talking about. You know me, not great synopses. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know if you've read any of these and if I should get to them soon. Let me know what you've picked up recently, and hopefully we'll see you in another video soon. If you've not subscribed, I would be so grateful if you could, and if you like this video I'd really appreciate it if you could give it a thumbs up. Why was I like this? Have a great day and hopefully I'll see you soon. Bye!